event and supporting, again, this initiative that Tracy Bay was kind of started, and I think it's really helpful. I think it's a good first step for all of you here. In the handout, Waverly has actually touched on some of the items that I was covering, which is good. I think she actually was providing a lot of the details of that. And kind of starting too, it's basically the first part that I was going to talk about is kind of ways to raise capital for a startup. And like what Waverly said, I think, and Sam kind of indicated, you kind of start with your own money. In banking, we always say we want your skin in the game, because if you have your own money invested, you work harder, you're committed to it, and again, you want it to succeed. And the way we touched on, again, the other way of raising funds right now with technology and social media is the crowdfunding. And Waverly mentioned about Kickstarter. I just kind of pulled some statistics of Kickstarter. It started in 2009, and they funded or 8.1 million people have actually have been subscribers to Kickstarter. They funded about $1.6 billion since 2009, and they funded 79,000 creative projects. So it's kind of it's amazing, like nowadays that platform, which gives, again, it kind of evens the playing field a little bit to small business owners, or individuals that want to start a business, which we did not have before back in 2009. And another site or another avenue is Indiegogo and Fundable is the other sites that kind of provide kind of the same idea. Waverly also mentioned about family and friends, and it's really, I can't reinforce this enough. If you are going to be asking for your friends and families, then make sure that those are money that they can lose. Because again, starting up a business is very risky, and they should be aware of that. And I think it would be a good idea to actually have some legal agreements in place, just to make sure that everybody's on the same page. I have a customer, and just kind of the story is Lori Grenier, who's in Shark Tank, who's the queen of QVC. She's been a customer of mine since back in 2000. And when she was starting a business, she actually got funding. Luckily, she has the father has resources. She was able to get funding, and she, again, it was a loan from the father, and she basically started. Her main product was, because she wanted to have a prototype of this jewelry box that she did. It's basically a rotating jewelry box that can hold hundreds of jewelries, and women love that. And she would basically go to the buyers of different, like a Kmart, a JCPenney, and basically went door to door and actually pushed it. And she got a lot of no's, but eventually she was able to get a purchase order. And then she got into QVC, and now everything's in history. Now she's so big in Shark Tank, and at the same time, she's a very nice person, very down to earth. The third one that I think is more, we talked about small business lending. There's a lot of organizations that provide micro lending to individuals that are starting a business or small businesses that are trying to grow. A couple of those organizations are Chicago Neighborhood Initiative, and I actually have on the back of the handout are their websites and phone numbers that you can tap into. So they could actually provide funding from as small as $1,000 up to $25,000. And they would actually provide advice and mentoring as well, in terms of what steps you need to do. Kind of going through the whole process of business plan, they go through that. And another organization that helps out is Action Chicago. Action Chicago has been in existence since 1994 and has been helping a lot of the low-income communities and, again, small businesses. And CNI Group, go ahead.
You said Axiom.
Axiom.
Is it in this?
Yeah, it's actually in the back of. So you don't have to do the notes in the back of the handout are the resources, the names, and the websites.
Oh, okay.
So, and I listed here credit cards. So I was kind of pulling all of the funding sources. Again, credit cards would be the last thing you want to kind of tap into. It's there, but one thing, it should be temporary because the interest rates are so high, 18, 20%. It's just crazy. I don't think you really want to be touching that. But if there's a need to, that as long as it's temporary, I think that would be okay. But just make sure you watch that part. And again, unfortunately for startups, banking, conventional loans from banks, even for MB, it's not really accessible. I think part of the reason for the micro-lending, for those organizations providing micro-lending, those are helping out business owners or individuals starting a business that do not have access to traditional funding, traditional loans. So banks, but at a certain stage, when you get to a certain stage of maybe a couple of years of results, you can go to the small SBA loan, Small Business Administration, and go through a bank and get funding now.
So I'm curious, when trying to uproot a business, how large do you think an individual should expect this pool to be?
Sorry, what was that again?
So when uprooting a business, right, how big do you suggest that the individual expect this pool to be? Like, how many people should I be working with? Like, if you had an estimate.
Oh, in terms of funding part or actually marketing on that?
That's interesting. I guess if you could break it down and give me the sum of both.
Well, but I think you want to tap into different resources. I think it's good to kind of, try the crowdfunding, kind of talk to people. I think the more options you have, then you can evaluate kind of the risk and reward for all of them. And again, depending on the project, you want to start small and kind of build up on it. But again, having the different resources would be a good thing for you to have. Kind of not, because again, most probably you may have lows on some of them, so the more applications you put in, or more kind of channels you go through, then you have more options to do so, to kind of pick from. And again, we talked about, I put it here, I guess a business partner, after a certain point of creating a business, if you have somebody that kind of a similar mindset, or actually one that would complement your abilities and your strengths, just make sure that, again, everything, there's always a legal aspect to anything in business. You want to have it kind of on paper and have it signed and agreed to, just to make sure that there's no confusion. Especially if it's successful. I mean, I'm sure you've heard stories about Facebook and all the drama when it's got big. So you want to make sure that everything is on paper. And again, we already mentioned about angel investing at a certain point. I think that's always an option. And when you get to that stage, that'll be a very exciting times for anybody. So. The other part that, so once you've identified kind of potential funding sources, and when you're starting up a business, you go through all this idea generation, you pick up a product or an idea or a service. Now you kind of have to go through kind of the boring part of it, are the financial part, the numbers. So you kind of have, so it's a startup, so you want to have an idea, you have to have an idea what are the costs to start up this business? And so again, you kind of look at the cost of the product that you're gonna, so the cost of the product that you're gonna sell, like the marketing. So kind of the four parts would be again, marketing costs, selling, packaging, and for the product. And we also call it inventory. And then from there, at least, so we want to make sure that you you're detailed enough. The one that I have on the handout is very basic information. It's more, again, the purpose of this, as James indicated, it's just an overview of the information you want to have. And one organization that I recommend is SCORE Chicago. They actually provide a mentoring program if you want to start a business. So they go through the whole business plan as well as the financial. It's called SCORE Chicago. And again, it's in the back of the handout. You just call the phone number and they schedule an appointment with a mentor, and they could go through this whole process as well as the financial part. I know the financial, if you're not really involved with it or spending a lot of time with it, it could be kind of daunting. But I think it's, again, the one that I'm attaching or providing to you is kind of just an overview. And then once you have an idea in terms of what your startup cost is, that's when you kind of think, okay, this is how much I need in capital. From your own money, from the, again, crowdfunding if you're able to do so, again, from family and friends, and then micro-lending. Then at least you have an idea now, but you want to make sure that you're detailed enough and be realistic enough on those expenses. And again, do a kind of a worst case scenario as well. You know, you have a kind of a base case and a worst case scenario. And again, when you go through this process, you would have to kind of think about, okay, how much do you think I'm able to sell of this product, and how much would be the cost? So that's a projection. You kind of go forward, and in the handout I had about 12 months, just to simplify. And again, it's just kind of, again, sales, again, as we indicated earlier, would be the price that should have enough markup to cover your costs, not just to cover the cost of the product, but cost of, they call it operating expenses. Again, marketing, salaries, if you have that, utilities, like your phone bill, and things like that. So you want to make sure, and then your goal is to be, of course, is to be profitable, but you have to be realistic as well that for startup businesses, the first maybe up to 6 months, you actually would lose money. And I think that's why on the follow-up page of the projection, we call it cash flow. So you want to know how much money comes in from where, and the money coming in can come from your capital, your own money, and then the sale, the money that you collect from the sale of your product or services. And then the outflow is the expenses, the cost of making that product, again, the cost of marketing that product, the cost of packaging that product. And then, so you want to know how much money you have in cash so you can anticipate, at least go, the one that I showed there is about just 4 weeks. So you want to have an idea, okay, this is what I think my cash was going to be. And again, if it's negative, it kind of gives you, if you project out at least 4 weeks, you have an idea, okay, if it's going to be a negative, what do I need to do? Okay, that means I need to get more capital. I need to get additional funding from somewhere. Or you want to lower your outgoing, your expenses, your whatever you're going to pay, utilities. You might want to kind of lower your marketing, lower your kind of the amount of inventory you're buying. But so at least it's always helpful to kind of think ahead so you can anticipate and not be reactive to it. And then the final one that I was, again, this is a little bit more technical, but again, you want to, depending on the type of product or industry or services. I guess it's more product. You want to kind of track how much of the product you have and how much you need to buy. You have to kind of think about that. I know sometimes you don't really want to think about those issues, but you need to, as a business person, again, as a business person, you're the business owner, you're the accountant, you're the janitor, you're kind of all. So you need to know, it'd be a good idea to know what's going on in your business, because you're it for a certain period of time. And one thing that, again, it's starting up a business is not easy. It requires a lot of work, a lot of time, and but I think if the only thing that I could suggest is make sure that you can understand your product and believe in the product, and make sure that, again, you do the homework, be detailed, and then go for it. But then be mindful and be realistic of just manage your expectation and be realistic in terms of what you're looking at. Are there any questions? Hopefully I didn't go too fast.